Yellowjackets fans and citizen detectives, the long-standing mystery that kicked off the very first episode with a chilling, primal scream and the infamous pit trap has finally been laid to rest. After 3 intense seasons of theories, speculation, and Pinterest-worthy yarn boards, we now know that the tragic figure known as Pit Girl is Marie, played by Alexa Borojos, and while it may not be the biggest twist of the series, the confirmation in the Season 3 finale, aptly titled Full Circle, is immensely satisfying for loyal viewers who've followed the show's breadcrumb trail since day one, and let's face it, Marie's fate had been telegraphed for quite some time, especially with her distinctive hair and frame matching Pit Girl's silhouette from the pilot. But Yellowjackets isn't content with just confirming our suspicions. Instead, it retroactively enriches Marie's arc by showing how her descent into doom was foreshadowed all along, from her antagonistic relationship with Shauna, whom we see hunting Marie in a ruthless game of capture the flag at the top of the season, to her eventual fall into the exact pit that Coach Ben unearthed, a pit we now realize was always intended to lead us back here, to this moment of full-circle storytelling that serves as both a narrative bookend and a twisted revenge fantasy, with Shauna enacting a brutal comeuppance for Marie's condescension and cruelty, reminding us that in the wilderness, teenage grudges can literally be fatal, but Marie's end, grisly as it is, only scratches the surface of what this finale unleashes, as Yellowjackets pivots hard into revelations, shifting alliances, and violent confrontations that feel less like season closure and more like an opening salvo for whatever chaotic salvation or damnation awaits in Season 4, starting with the idea that the hunt for Marie wasn't as unified as we'd been led to believe in that haunting first episode, which depicted her flight from a seemingly single-minded, cannibalistic horde. Only 4 full circle to reveal that the Yellowjackets have actually fragmented into competing factions, each with different levels of buy-in to the cult-like belief in the wilderness's will, as Shauna and Lottie have fully embraced the ritualistic savagery of hunting and sacrifice, while others like Van and Ty, though deeply conflicted, are complicit so long as they aren't the ones being served for dinner, and then there's the behind-the-scenes manipulation, like Ty convincing Van to rig the card draw to target newcomer Hannah, Ashley Sutton, an outsider and supposed ally of Shauna who, ironically, remains such a shallowly written character that her involvement barely resonates. A squandered opportunity considering she's both an adult and a mother, 2 traits that could have added fascinating friction to the group dynamic, but instead she's relegated to a body double for Natalie to disguise her escape with the satellite phone, a subplot that's clever in execution but disappointing in its emotional payoff because Hannah, the person helping her, remains underdeveloped. Meanwhile, the other splinter groups, led by Akila, Melissa, and Jen, take bolder actions to protect Marie, even confronting the hunters head-on, with Melissa attempting to tackle Shauna, and bailing at the last second, and Akila ready to bash in Lottie's skull with a rock, although Yellowjackets conveniently cuts away before showing us what happens, which leaves us guessing when Lottie later reappears unharmed while Akila is noticeably absent from the dinner table, raising more questions about whether she died off-screen or is being saved for a future twist. And this theme of murky motivations continues with the revelation that Akila and her crew deliberately poisoned their own animals to spark a new hunt, apparently to create chaos or perhaps to sabotage Shauna's position, but it's a shaky premise, considering the group still had livestock, and it's hard to reconcile their willingness to endanger each other without a clearer motive. Yet that confusion is emblematic of a show that thrives on ambiguity and emotional instability, even if it sometimes leans too hard on it, especially when the story pivots back to the adult timeline with a bombshell. Lottie is dead. And Callie, yes, Shauna's daughter, is her killer, not Shauna herself as Misty initially suspected based on mitochondrial DNA evidence, and this subplot is a masterclass in misdirection, with Misty confronting Callie and unearthing the truth that Callie had gone to Lottie's candlelit urban hideaway to retrieve a stolen tape, only to be seduced by Lottie's unnerving rhetoric about the wilderness and its hold on her, and while we don't see the exact moment of Lottie's death, the implication is that Callie, driven by fear, rage, or maybe even a touch of inherited darkness, struck the final blow, adding another layer to the show's ongoing meditation on the psychological inheritance of trauma and savagery between generations. And this moment also repositions Callie as more than a background teen with attitude. She becomes part of the cycle of violence that has defined the Yellowjackets since their time in the wilderness, tying past and present together in a horrifyingly poetic way. Yet the episode doesn't stop there, it pushes forward toward what seems to be the long-awaited rescue, Though the details remain murky, Van and Ty's satellite phone is active, suggesting help could be on the way, but the show makes it clear that whatever salvation comes, it won't be simple or clean. There's too much blood, too many secrets, and far too much instability, both psychological and interpersonal, for anyone to just return to civilization unscathed. And while the final shot doesn't explicitly show helicopters or flashing rescue lights, the tension in the air suggests a reckoning is coming, especially with Natalie's defection, Shauna's spiral, Misty's loyalty being tested, and the looming question of what's real versus what's wilderness-induced hallucination. As even now, 3 seasons deep, Yellowjackets continues to blur the line between psychological trauma and supernatural horror, never quite answering whether the wilderness is truly a force with will and power or simply a manifestation of the girls' collective madness. And perhaps that's the point, that in the crucible of isolation, starvation, and grief, belief itself becomes the most dangerous weapon, more lethal than knives or pits or poison. And as the episode ends, we're left not with closure but with the terrible realization that even with Pit Girl's identity confirmed and Lottie's death laid bare, the real mystery isn't just who dies or who survives, but who these women will become when they finally emerge from the woods, and whether they'll ever be able to leave that darkness behind, or if, like the wilderness, it will live in them forever.